Hello, welcome back to Level 1 News. Today is November 17th, and today we're doing business and robot.
November's almost gone. Make it stop.
Thanksgiving is next week. If you need to buy meat, start buying it now.
Or if you need to stockpile media, you want to use some YouTube DL, make sure you got a nice collection of things to listen to drown out your family.
The supply chain does not seem to be improving. If anything, it's getting worse.
Oh, also, we're supposed to have a bad winter. So there's the woolly worms, which have been black, which means bad winter. The persimmon seeds look like spoons, which means heavy snow. And then there's also La Nina, or El Nina, which I think El Nina is an actual thing and not just a weird folk superstition that we have around here. And that's supposed to also be bad this year.
I think you're mixing genders.
Is it La Nina or El Nina?
Daughter of God.
I don't know.
La, yeah.
It's cold. It's supposed to be colder this year.
That sucks because, like the heating cost.
Yeah.
It's going to be high.
The documentation for the building boiler says that it was designed for an outside ambient temperature of minus 30. It was installed 100 years ago. Is that the level of climate change we've really endured? Because
don't start that conversation. Apple is they're giving you just a smidgen back. They've taken so much, and now they will offer a paltry reward for your loyalty.
Apple will no longer break Face ID on repaired iPhone 13s. Why did they reverse? Because there were enough people in right to repair grabbing their torches and pitchforks and laying bare exactly what Apple was doing. You see, if Apple is not acting from behind cloak and dagger and it's plain and clear what they're doing, it's deeply unpopular. And Apple must not be seen as deeply unpopular because they care what you think. And if enough people know what horrible things they're doing, they're going to go to greater lengths to make sure that those horrible things are less done. So what Face ID, what it would do previously is it would just mysteriously break and glitch and give you weird error messages. They deliberately wrote behavior into the software to make it glitch and be weird in some scenarios, not with the Face ID, but in the past, as opposed to just not working or just not saying, hey, we've detected an unauthorized repair. We don't know if this phone is safe. We've disabled Face ID. That wasn't what it did.
Disgusting. But Apple, even though they gave us this huge boon and made us so happy, they have gotten some bad news because, and again, this is one of those headlines where you're like, well, we've talked about this so many times. Yeah, the appeals are running out, and it seems that Apple must actually do this.
Apple has been ordered to comply with the ruling in the Epic versus Apple lawsuit that allows them to, or that forces them to allow developers to prompt their users to pay outside of Apple's walled garden. See, if you pay through Apple, Apple gets a 30% cut. But if I have an app on the App Store and I say, hey, just go to my website, and it's 20% cheaper than on the Apple App Store, I get 10% more, and we cut out Apple. It's pretty good stuff. The court said, yeah, you got to turn that on. Apple said, we want to exhaust all of our appeals before we turn it on. But it's weird, because when the ruling was first handed down, Apple said, we're going to go ahead and do that. And then all the press places reported that Apple was going to do the right thing. And it was really good press. And then they said, nah, we changed our mind.
JK, not actually going to do
Seems
that.
deliberate, don't you think?
They're good at it.
They really are.
They control that spin like masters.
They really do. It's shocking.
Well, I would say prepare yourself for a lot of disappointments this holiday season when it comes to buying what you want. We've already heard that the Nintendo Switches are going to be woefully underproduced. I think the PS5s are still in high demand, aren't they?
Yes.
Tough to get those. And there is one hot holiday item that you won't be getting at all.
Steam Deck has been delayed, and Valve apologizes. I got the email, and then there was 50 stories about how it had been delayed. And Valve did not pre-inform anybody, as far as I could tell. Everybody got the same email at the same time. But they had a frequently asked questions page that was up immediately that was like, hey, it's going to be February 2022. We're sorry. And we're still going to fill the orders in the order that they are received. So.
Yikes. Valve is good. They're always good about this kind of thing. And you could tell from the wording, I was like, we really tried. It's just not there.
Yeah.
Cannot buy them.
I think when this was announced, we said, based on our own experiences with the supply chain, it was not coming for Christmas. We were right.
It's going to be some sad Christmas trees.
That's going to be NFTs. What are you talking about?
But
It's the only thing you can
It's
get.
just going to be a coupon that's like, you'll get it eventually.
You're going to get a jar of peanut butter, and you're going to be happy by the time Christmas runs around.
Oh,
But
get to eat.
not every household will share that experience, and perhaps one way that you'll be able to tell the happy households from the miserable households is how much Alphabet stock that they own, because Alphabet, in amidst all this woe and misery, is doing quite well.
Google's parent company briefly hits a $2 trillion valuation. Money printer go brrrr.
Doubled the market cap since last January. Or not even last January, 2020 January. That is impressive.
Is it though? Because the inflation rate is kind of
And
bananas
it
right
just feels
now.
like fake money. It's like, oh, that's...
Well, I don't see anybody else's stock price jumping up like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Red versus blue, I guess the last blow we have to give to blue because those Alder Lake CPUs were fairly impressive.
Yes.
And if you take the power out of it, are they back? Are they number one? Now, some people could certainly argue that. But that is not, having the fastest CPU is not necessarily winning the war, because there are battles behind the scenes that matter maybe more.
Yeah, just a week later, well, the headline, I can't see the headline. What is it? AMD signs up Meta in another big win on the server roadmap. So Meta, the Facebook company. So AMD, just a week after Alder Lake launch, had their server event, and they talked about their new server chips. And it's not even the new server chips. It's just they're adding more cache to the existing server chips. But they also said, hey, our really big server chips are coming next year. Don't worry. But they also talked about some corporate wins, including with like Facebook and their server rollout and how they're scaling and doing stuff like that. So that's exciting.
The metaverse. We don't know what it is, but we know it's going to run on Threadripper.
Epic. It's going to run on Epic. But
So,
and Instinct MI graphics cards.
Microsoft also rolled out some new hardware that we looked at last week. We did not look at this one. This is their lowest offering, and you can't buy it.
This is once again Microsoft own-goaling themselves.
This is a really, really bad product.
Microsoft's new 249 Surface Laptop SE is the first true Chromebook competitor. Here's why this product is going to fail. They have gone for the cheapest thing imaginable, and it's going to be a terrible user experience because it's going to run slow and Windows is going to suck on whatever platform this is. They literally do not get it. Their first product that is really their third or fourth product that's based on ARM and like the new technologies, they should have gone over the top to make it as awesome as possible. This is going to be trash level hardware with a trash level experience.
Is this just something they produced so they could get something out for Black Friday, you think?
No, this is only for schools. You can't buy these.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's literally just made to be a cheap Windows computer that connects to the cloud. And it comes with a special version of Windows 11, which I think we get a separate article about that.
No, it's the same article. Windows SE, only OneDrive, no local file access. Think about that. It's a version of Windows with no local file storage.
Well, they are emulating Google in that regard because it's like, look at my Chromebook. It's all cloud-based. And it's like,
Also,
So it's not really your documents in there, huh?
yeah.
this is like a one-time setup from Microsoft that you get when it ships. I guess there's probably a reset function somehow, but if you put another operating system on that, you can't go back.
Yeah, there's no download for this version of Windows.
Sounds like a real hit.
This is going to be... How do people in Microsoft still not get it right? They were the first to have an ARM laptop. They saw the writing on the wall, and they still fumbled it so hard. How do they not know?
I'm sure someone knows there, and they've been harping on it the whole time.
They've been
but-
furiously writing memos this whole
Yeah.
time that are just, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so.
Well, Microsoft definitely has a history of aggressively corralling you into the pen that they want you in, no matter what pen you want to live in. This certainly looks like another step in that direction.
Microsoft to kill OneDrive for Windows 7, 8, 8.1, etc. in early 2022. It's like, hey, we need advanced security features of Windows 10 and mainly Windows 11. So get out.
The joke's on them. I've been trying to uninstall OneDrive for years.
And this article doesn't really talk about it at all, but OneDrive on Linux is, because they've got Edge on Linux. And like Edge as a browser, and this is crazy that it's me saying this, is actually not a terrible experience. Edge is actually pretty good on Linux. It's a pretty good browser. And so it's like a lot of the stuff that they have in there they're going to break older versions of Windows is probably going to negatively impact Linux, which is unfortunate. And they're probably not even on their radar.
Well,
Yeah, but
would it be? Yeah.
the number of people who use Edge in Linux, it's like you and one other guy.
0.0000000.1%.
Well, Huawei, I don't know, they seem to be doing pretty well considering all the horror that they've gone through in the last couple of years and being between the Communist Party and the rest of the world saying stop spying on us. They seem to be weathering it to some extent, but maybe it was just a facade.
Huawei offloads its x86 business as it chases self-sufficiency. Like, we're going to make our own x86 chips. Then they're looking at Apple and others, and they're like, you know what? Maybe we don't need x86 at all. So
Maybe they're right. It could be a very prescient thing to do.
makes sense.
I don't know, though. I mean, if they make a brilliant new ARM chip, are we going to let people buy it?
No. Although, what we probably would do is make them license it to a company that is owned in America, which is kind of what the Chinese do that we've criticized in the past. It's another one of those things where it's like Spider-Man pointing at each other. It's like, no, we can't do this. And it's like, we do it. And it's like, what?
It's my favorite meme format.
Double standard much?
Everything about the U.S.-China relationship is a double standard in both directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked a lot. Actually, we just started talking about the horror that is coming when everything is going to be an NFT. Everything's going to be tokenized. Everything's going to be traded. It's going to be a weird, horrible world that we live in. It's going to be like, people say like late stage capitalism. You've not seen anything yet. It's going to get so much worse.
Reddit to reportedly tokenize karma points and onboard 500 million new users. So your Reddit karma will actually be on the Ethereum blockchain, and somehow your karma will be Ethereum, or they're gonna implement it like Ethereum, something like that.
Now, do you recall when all of the news organizations slowly switched over to a business model where only clicks mattered? And do you
Yes.
remember what that did to the world?
This is going to be worse.
This is going to be worse.
This is going to happen overnight, and there's going to be an immediate marketplace.
What's to stop Jeff Bezos from having the loudest voice then?
What's stopping him now?
Well, I mean, let's pay for whatever. Like, they own the news organizations. They own.
Sinclair Broadcasting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you, I didn't see this in the story. Maybe I didn't read it deep enough. But if you have like 1 billion karma already, do you immediately get tokenized?
Yes.
I think they've tested it with 2 different subreddits, I think.
So people are going to make a lot of money there, huh? Just overnight. Interesting.
How much do you think this will make the shitposts get worse, right?
Only if people will upvote them. You're going to be chasing like the most obvious thing that someone else will just immediately agree to.
Which, I mean, that kind of already happens on Reddit, which is annoying. At least on the bigger subreddits. Wow, that's going to make it way worse.
The dissenting voices are gone. Because the dissenting voices will get no response. They'll get no cryptocurrency. I mean, maybe if you're the biggest dissenting voice. It's bad. It's going to be bad.
Whatever Jeff Bezos says, I agree with, and then he just is like throwing money at you.
I mostly follow like small, like niche subreddits anyway, but I wonder if that will eventually affect them, and then they'll also go down in quality because people will be chasing that coin.
Honestly, I don't go to Reddit much anymore. It's already just so terrible. Well, green energy. That's the big talk. And there is one kind of energy that doesn't count as green, and yet is pretty good for the planet, unless. Like there's that big unless. But it seems to be more and more, because we're arguing about fossil fuels, this is the way of the future, and people are investing in cool new ways to do it.
Rolls-Royce gets funding to develop mini nuclear reactors. Not M-A-N-Y, it's M-I-N-I, miniature.
I suspect it's both.
Well, miniature nuclear reactors are a lot safer because there's a lot less chance of a meltdown, and even if there is a meltdown, it's a lot more self-contained. It's unlikely to spread contaminants to, say, like the atmosphere, and also being able to use modern, technology and modern designs. Most people don't realize, like General Electric's nuclear designs, some of the components of it date back to like the 1950s.
That came up a lot during Fukushima.
Yes.
Because those were old. And even when they built them, the designs were old.
Yeah.
So it's a long time coming. I think a lot of the new development for nuclear has been sanctioned and stuff, though, right?
Yeah, it's unattractive, and it's like we can't, this design is tried and true and proven, and this new design is theoretical because it's a chicken and egg problem.
But I got to say, I mean, I understand it because mini nuclear reactors sound amazing. Yeah, let's get those. But I'm going to put it right outside the building. How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with that.
All right, well.
I wouldn't be, but
Take note. Wendell's going to let you mount one on the roof for a small leasing fee.
I think we should dig a pit and put it in the pit. If we can agree to put it in a pit, I'm okay with it.
Contaminate your groundwater.
Who owns that land?
No, I mean, I'd be fine if I did. It's fine.
So your house?
Yeah.
You'll put it under your house?
That's totally okay. I'm good with that. It's totally fine.
Well,
we should put it somewhere that it's on bedrock so it doesn't contaminate the groundwater, which around here is not super hard to do.
I think there's more to it than that.
A little bit, yeah.
When you are sitting around, when you got a little bit of time off for the holidays, or maybe you're just avoiding your family, or maybe you just spend all of your time binging TV because you hate life, it's going to get a little bit better for you and definitely for your ISP.
Netflix starts rolling out more efficient AV1 codec to TVs, including select Android TVs. This is a little crazy because those low-power devices that you plug into a TV that you can stream, they have a hardware decoder for the old codec, H.264, but many of them have for years had the decoder for H.265 or AV1, and we're only just now getting a thing to use them.
The Fire TVs do 265.
Yeah.
And they'll do that from your own files, too, from a USB stick.
Oh, nice.
These are the models that have updated so far. Not a huge list. I wonder how, does the Chromecast and Roku, do they do that?
Some of them. So it turned I think with Roku specifically, if I'm remembering, it's been about a year since I worked on it. Some of that hardware rolled out a really buggy implementation of that, and they thought they could salvage it in software, and it turns out they cannot.
Yikes. That's the bad thing about those set-top pieces. Like, you could get a lemon,
Yeah.
and the next year it'll be better, but you got to buy it again.
Yeah, I got one of those Android, like those open source Android, like run your own Android things on it, and it had some of that hardware, and I was like, yes, this is going to get H.265 someday. And like the mailing list is like, well, there's some hardware there that accelerates some of it, but overall the platform is just too slow to deal with it because of bugs.
Terrible. Well, Tesla thus far has pretty much stood alone. There are other companies making electric cars. We saw Toyota getting into it. GM's got one. Several of those European companies, I think, have rolled them out. But no one just makes electric vehicles as a competitive company until now.
Rivian goes public in one of the biggest IPOs ever. Rivian did some really smart, brilliant marketing. They got a bunch of, YouTubers and other influencers to take a bunch of these trucks, off the beaten path, and they have like camping features. Like, Chris, did you see that? Where like behind the cab there, you can pull out a thing and it's an electric stove, and there's just.
Oh no, I hadn't seen that.
And that's a thing that you can add at the factory. Like when you order your Rivian, you can be like, yeah, put the camp stove on it.
Yeah, you should check out some of those videos. It's really exciting, and it can change like how it crawls on, or like
how it rolls on rough land.
Yeah, well, I say crawl because it'll adjust the ride height of the wheels independently, and so it can deal with really rough terrain really well.
It'll be the new van life.
Yeah.
Well, truck life, I guess.
I don't know what it's trading at right now. The IPO was 78. It went well over 100.
Yeah.
So, assuming that held, they've got like $12 billion in fresh capital.
Well, the vehicles they showed off, I mean, they had like a dozen of them, or they made it seem like they had a dozen of them, different colors and stuff like that. So, they were impressive.
Can you mine Bitcoin with it? Probably. Probably you can, because people figured out how to do that in the Tesla. But if you really want efficient Bitcoin mining, what you need to do is find some place that has a surplus of power. A lot of people, that when we're talking about the climate, a lot of people don't grasp the concept of the immediacy of electricity. Electricity is just here right now in this moment, unless you put it in a battery, which costs an amazing amount of, you lose so much doing that.
Yeah.
So you can't just pour your energy into a bottle and seal it up and keep it under your house. It doesn't work like that. When you have extra energy, you need to use it.
quote unquote financial colonialism. A Bitcoin mine in Navajo Nation flares tensions. So if you read this article, that shouldn't be the headline. Like, that's the clickbait headline. But you read this, and it's like there's a Navajo community that has 15 megawatts of extra electricity. And so this company showed up and they said, you have a bunch of electricity you're not using. Can we buy that from you at, slightly above market rates? And if you ever need more, that's fine. But we want to buy it from you and run our Bitcoin mine. And they said, okay, but only if you give us 51% non-controlling interest of your company, but we own 51% of your company. And they said, all right, that's fine. And so it ran that way for a long time. But then recently, the company said, hey, can we buy ourselves out? Can we buy the 51% and take full control, and we'll give you a boatload of money, an undisclosed sum? And they said, sure. And then this article comes out, and it's like, hey, are you stealing our electricity? And it's like, no, we're buying it.
There was an agreement, yeah.
The nation apparently has a lot of homes and stuff that don't have running water or electricity. But they have a lot more money now to do that than they did before. I'm just saying.
Their poop buckets are amazing now. They're gilded and they're like hand carved. It's incredible.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
probably run the line now.
They're
They've got the
blaming
cash.
they're blaming this company for a problem that was caused by something else. And I get it. I mean, you see these people getting rich off of, it's like, that's our electricity. Musk should step in here and build them a battery wall, a giant battery.
That would cost money.
Well, yeah, he's rich. This would be a huge PR stunt for him.
We've got a lot of people that are out of work right now. Why don't we put them to work running wire and plumbing?
Sure.
If they're willing to do that.
I know somebody in Indianapolis who'd be willing to run some cable for him.
Supervise the crews that are digging the ditches and make sure the lines are straight.
He doesn't speak Navajo, though. Well, we've learned about Zillow's misstep this past week. Oh boy, did they mess up by trying to do this real estate in a completely online, weird way, algorithms and AI. They really screwed it up. Turns out they weren't the first to do it. They were just the first to do it in the U.S.
Bezos has backed a real estate app that is going to accept Bitcoin as payment.
But only in Latin America. So
That seems a little weird.
Do you think, is it cheaper to pay the Bitcoin fees to pay cash for a house? No, right? Because if you just have a cashier check, you're not paying any fees.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin fees on a house are going to be high.
Yeah.
The transaction fees. Maybe you've just got it in a cold wallet. I don't know. It's interesting, though. Probably also just a down payment, right? Are a lot of people in those places paying outright cash for houses?
No, but the cost of the house is also not a lot.
Or maybe the people Bezos is doing business
Yeah,
with.
you say the foreign investors who are trying to get houses.
Is this a way to appreciate? Like, you could turn your crypto assets also into real estate assets, and then it depreciates either way. Can you become a landlord? It's like you can turn your Bitcoin holdings into, you're now a slumlord in some third world country.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not gonna be a landlord.
You figured it out, and here's the engagement challenge. We can't use Tom Selleck. Who will be the celebrity for the reverse Bitcoin mortgage commercials?
It's not a scam.
No one's trying to take your Bitcoin. Well, NFTs, as we said, the coming hell of everything being tokenized and everything being traded it's coming. You can't stop it. But,
no one wants it, and yet.
Well, that's the thing that gives me a little bit of hope. Because every time a company comes out and announces one of these things, there's a massive backlash. People know how bad this is going to get.
Discord pushes pause on exploring the crypto and NFT thing amidst user backlash. Their CEO was like, look at this screenshot. We're working on a thing. And everybody at once collectively was like, what are you doing?
Please no.
Can you just please stop? That was funny.
Krista, what do you think about their art style, these monsters and wizards hanging out?
This is a pretty common art style right now. I'm not sure. There's not like a name for it yet, I don't think. Like, there will be eventually when we talk about the design of this period, but I don't know what this illustration style is called yet.
Maybe you could name it, Krista. You could get something started.
I've thought about that, but I can't think of anything clever.
We can test our influence. We don't have enough.
We don't have any influence, though.
We might be able to get a 4-unit villa in like somewhere in Latin America that is constantly, under threat of being condemned.
But we
Maybe.
have to buy it with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Now, Krista, do you know if these people are working on the Amazon project?
I don't know. They worked on the movies, but
Is that why they? I mean, that might be why they bought them. It's like they're to the part where they need visual effects, and it's like, well, this is going to cost a lot of money, or we could buy the studio.
But they also did Avatar.
Yeah.
That was a big one. This is a very, very talented effects company, if nothing else. And I guess we're going to start seeing much more production value in video games, huh?
Unity to buy the Lord of the Rings VFX studio, Weta Digital, for $1.63 billion deal. So I had a slightly different take on this. Have you seen some of the stuff that Unity and developers have been doing with like the VTuber thing? They're doing really incredible real-time, modeling where like you wear a power glove and it's got, a motion capture thing, and you're doing a performance, but it's doing it in real time with Unity. Well, it turns out that they're doing a lot of that kind of stuff on set too, in TV shows and movies that are being shot right now. And so like this unholy alliance of like Unity and motion capture and AI and all this stuff together is doing some really incredible stuff in real time, so that actors have a way of doing and seeing things. And so like if Amazon is going to bring that kind of thing to Weta, it's really we're in for some really exciting stuff.
That is going to play a major role in the metaverse.
Probably, yeah.
Your appearance in the metaverse is going to be something that's heavily monetized. And having a cool thing that adapts to your actual appearance and overlays, that's going to be expensive and really amazing.
In the metaverse, you literally will not be able to get counterfeit Nikes. It will be physically impossible.
No, but you can get a pair of virtual Nikes when you buy Kraft macaroni and cheese.
if you die in the metaverse, do you die in real life?
Yeah. Zuckerberg comes to your house and shoots you
The Zuckerbot.
personally.
It's time consuming, but it's his favorite part of the job, so he still makes time for it.
We have a couple of different stories this week about companies that are splitting up, and I have to assume that these guys are reading the tea leaves, right, on the antitrust stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do this on our terms."
GE will split into 3 units, ending the conglomerate for good. This is a feel-good story from Bloomberg that talks about, Edison's dream of the conglomerated electricity providing super monopoly and how those days have just come to an end.
They're breaking out the aircraft unit. That's probably really still making a lot of money, right? The defensive contracts.
Well,
What?
no one's flying right now, so they're not making money on that side of it with parts and stuff.
You mean until the Chinese war?
Yeah.
I think that'll pick up.
Yeah.
Or we can just sell them to Taiwan.
And Japan now, too.
Oh, yeah.
They need to fill their aircraft carriers.
Those were our planes on that carrier,
Yeah.
not theirs.
Yeah.
So they need planes. Everybody needs planes. We talked about the Oculus rebranding. There's a huge history, if you go back and look, of Facebook promising that they are not going to mess with the Oculus brand. They're going to buy it, but they're not going to screw it up. They're not going to rename it. They're not going to make it their own.
Nobody's going to steal your house.
X'd out.
Tom Selleck has guaranteed us that the Oculus name would live on.
Meta Quest 2 is already replacing the Oculus Quest 2 branding.
Not much more to that.
It's just sad.
I mean, it's almost worth the effort to go back and find the clip of Zuckerberg saying we're gonna, because he made a big deal about that in a video, and it's like I really want to splice it in right there, but it's fine.
Another big trend that is going right now is a lot of people are saying that unrealized gains in stocks should be taxed annually, whether you sold them or not. And that would be devastating to people who have billions of dollars. Maybe they're trying to get ahead of it a little bit.
Elon Musk and Tesla directors are cashing out billions in stock as it hits a record high. Well, no, he already had a tax liability of like $15 billion. That's why he sold this.
That's because of his options.
Yeah.
His options will expire if he doesn't exercise them. And if he exercises them, he's going to make an insane amount of money.
He did exercise them.
But, it's the SEC schedule.
Okay.
So it's not all of them. He exercised on a schedule and added more to that sale as well. The 10% that he went on Twitter about.
Okay.
And a lot of people, it's a brilliant PR move. You got to give it to him, right? He was not saying, I want to do this because the world, I should sell this and put it back in the money supply or whatever you want to say about it. The reason he did it is because he owes that exact amount for the taxes for the option sales.
Yeah.
He has to pay his taxes. And he's poor. He has no liquidity, remember. Although, did he sell those houses?
I mean, liquidity here is like maybe a few dozen $1 million, which is, in the grand scheme of things, a very small percentage of his overall wealth.
He's going to owe a lot. It's 50% at his tax bracket.
Yeah.
So $7 billion in taxes. That's going to hurt to write that check, doesn't it? He doesn't do it himself.
He's probably got a whole team of people who manage his money.
And Bitcoin continues to climb. It's given a little bit back now, but it's really, really.
As of this recording on Friday, what is it at now?
Like 68.
I thought it hit 70.
Use your phone because I don't want to create another tab. It may have touched 70. I'm sure it's not there right now, but a lot of people don't know there is a new technology coming to the Bitcoin platform.
Bitcoin's Taproot upgrade should occur on Saturday. This is going to let you run applications kind of similar to Ethereum, sort of, kind of, hopefully.
Contracts.
So, we'll see.
Oh, I lied. It's 62K right now.
Oh, it went down a bit.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are saying that Taproot with Bitcoin with Taproot technology could remove some of the need for the altcoins. I don't know though. Ethereum, I think it's pretty much settled. Could Ethereum lose a lot because of this?
I don't know. It's been weird.
Patreon. Some of you give us free money on Patreon. Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
It's wonderful.
Sometimes it's free peanut butter. We'll take that.
Listen, whatever you can do. We're not going to complain. But one of the things about Patreon is they are still, for people like us at least, for people who create video content, and I think that's probably the majority of Patreon people, you still are beholden to YouTube and their draconian censorship rules. So what can you do?
Patreon's building a native video hosting for creators to sidestep YouTube. We're building a video product.
That's not a bad idea. They might be able to compete with YouTube because they have enough money to handle the hosting.
But I don't think that they will fall on the right side of the censorship either. We've already seen Patreon do bad stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of censorship.
Also, they don't have that built-in like discoverability feature that YouTube does, where sometimes you can just get recommended a video and discover someone new.
Right.
Patreon, you usually have to know who it is before you get there.
I do like the idea of like, there's obviously content that we might make that we would never put on YouTube just because it would be like, garbage content. But something that some people would enjoy and we might enjoy making, I could see putting that directly on Patreon and not worrying about it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't hurt the algorithm at all.
We could do that now with Float Plane.
Now we can do it in both places. Oh, yeah. What a terrible sort.
I thought there was a
failure.
separate story for it.
Well, we've already spoiled it.
Windows 11 SE won't be sold separately and can't be reinstalled once removed. This is a version of Windows 11 that is locked down, but it's made for crappy devices like the Chromebooks. Although there's hints here that it's Windows S, so Windows Store apps only. But also it removes a bunch of... Microsoft calls it a distraction-free Windows 11. I would like a distraction-free Windows 11. I mean, I think Microsoft is basically defrauding shareholders with the start menu. It's so bad. But, I can't have that.
I think the distraction-free is more about controlling students, right?
Well, it's like you don't get Candy Crush and crap like that, because then students would be like, good luck, IT administrator, removing Candy Crush. It just keeps coming back. It's undead.
We have seen Google do a lot of really cool stuff when it comes to speech. What was the name of their... Oh, yeah. Euphonia. And then before that, it was called something else. The one that like set up appointments and stuff on the phone. Anyway, very impressive technology. And now they have a new user base that can enjoy it.
Google is taking signups for Relate, a voice assistant that recognizes impaired speech. So Google can learn to understand you, and then you can communicate normally if you have a speech impediment.
I was going to say, what if you have a strong accent like people we know?
Speech impediment.
Yeah, the girl in the video has like muscular dystrophy or something like that, and she can't move her mouth at all.
Oh.
And it's such a tough video to watch because like that's one of my biggest fears, right? Do you know the story of the movie reviewer?
Yeah, where he lost his jaw.
And they had to cut his entire lower jaw off. He would like go to some sort of room by himself and sequester himself because the smells of cooking in the house would drive him mad because he couldn't eat. After that surgery, he never ate again.
Wow.
Hell on earth. And these people who have trouble talking, feel for them as well. But the video was very impressive how it was able to. I mean, she was tough to understand, and Google did a very good job. Can't argue with that. But they're not the only game in town who's doing some cool stuff with voices and artificial intelligence.
NVIDIA's Riva, hopefully I'm saying that right, custom voice lets companies create a custom voice powered by AI. So we can finally have, a Cortana phone prompt whenever you call Microsoft. And it can just literally be everything. It's text-to-speech, but it's text-to-speech with any voice.
Bad news for those voice actors who...
I was going to say, that's what I was thinking of.
They do the call trees. Because now you just have to train this, and it can do everything automatically.
Joy.
Also, shout out to Kyle Wiggers, who wrote that article.
I want the Willem Dafoe, sound-alike. Like, find somebody that can do a sound-alike and then get them to agree to let me use their voice to train the AI so we can have the Willem Dafoe
well, they mentioned that, and that would probably be an issue because you could, fake it. Because there's enough training material out there of Willem Dafoe, right? You don't need to hire an actor.
Wow.
So there's going to have to be laws about that. I wish this website wasn't so hot new website design that doesn't actually show you anything because there's no headline. I didn't look up a news story about this because the website probably has more information than you're going to get anywhere else. It looks really amazing.
It does.
I'm really excited about this. Will it actually do what it's supposed to do?
We'll see. Spin launch represents a major breakthrough in launching satellites into space. How does it launch satellites into space? It spins around really, 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 really fast.
I like to imagine that paragraph on the site. That's all it says. It's just really, really, just hundreds of reallys, and then fast.
And then it lets go. And it does it in a vacuum. So that whole thing is a vacuum chamber, basically. And then when it pops out the top, there's actually a thin layer of plastic that the thing actually just pops right out of. And so we don't use rocket fuel to do this. We just throw it into orbit.
We just yeet it into space.
Basically, yeah.
Only electricity. So if you had a nuclear reactor, that thing is just self-contained.
I mean, yeeting a small, say Starlink satellite into orbit seems pretty awesome.
Until the payload is off balance by 2 millimeters and it gets launched into the reactor on one rotation. And then that's bad.
Yeah.
But that is, now, obviously not going to be any people on those.
No.
So that's just for getting satellites up there, but we need that.
Yeah.
Imagine how quick Bezos could get his satellites up there.
Yeah, it's just...
I bet it does make a cool noise.
Yeah. I bet it does too.
We should look into that. Microsoft is really getting into the AI game, and I can only imagine that all of these will make us miserable. This is Clippy on steroids.
Microsoft is adding more AI smarts and other new tools to Office. I can definitely tell when people are using or relying a little too hard on tools like Grammarly, and their emails become a little
above their pay grade
free of meaning.
But it sounds really good.
Yeah.
A lot of big words.
Yeah, and it's like there's no action items in this email. Why did you send this email?
I always get that impression when you see freedom of information stuff or whatever at police reports.
Yeah.
Because police, they're not smart enough to write in a way that might be good in court, but they try, and it's obvious that they're not that bright.
That word is not really used in this context.
And they try to. It's like when somebody's trying to write in a medieval voice, but they aren't really that familiar with it, and they just get it all wrong. It's hilarious. I love it.
They misunderestimated me.
Or, the suspect did go to. Did go to? Why did you phrase it like that? Oh, it's because you don't.
Did you read this back before?
Drone attacks are nothing new, but usually it's the U.S. government flying them. But now drones are so ubiquitous
just
that
randos.
Anybody can get in the game.
Iraqi prime minister says that after drone attack on residents, or is safe after there was a drone attack on his residence, the military says. This was apparently just some rando with a drone.
They just had an election, and some of the more extreme political parties lost a couple of seats. And we're not happy about that. We don't know it was them, but it was somebody. 8 people were injured. They didn't manage to kill anybody, though. Do you think the insurance in that country covers drone attacks?
Probably not.
Do they even have the insurance system? Like
Probably
they do?
not.
Do they have socialized healthcare in any of those Middle Eastern countries?
Yeah, I think so, because otherwise the people would be really on edge and like grab your torches and pitchforks and kill everyone.
Shouldn't they be anyway? Shouldn't we be? And this is a story it's information that has just come out about another drone attack, this time not aimed at a human being.
Drone attack used in attack on a U.S. electrical grid last year, report reveals. So this was a drone carrying a copper wire that was trying to drape it over the leads on a transformer, and it just caused the wire to vaporize. It didn't cause any problems. It might have caused a power blip, but it didn't cause any significant problems.
I guess their drone was not strong enough to get braided steel up there.
Yeah, they needed braided steel or a chain. A chain is a cheap way to do that.
Still be pretty heavy for a drone, though, right? Maybe 2 drones, one on each end.
How they make some pretty big
Grips
drones.
it by the husk. Get it?
And we got some astronauts coming home after their long stay on the space station. But that last day, even with all the joy and the emotion of coming back and seeing your family, there will be a bit of a cloud over it. And or maybe not over it, maybe under it.
In the undercarriage.
Yeah.
A broken toilet on the SpaceX capsule means that the astronauts are going to return to Earth in diapers. That's fine. This is fine. This didn't.
Would you even be upset? Would that even ruin your trip?
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't even. This didn't need to be an NPR article. This is purely clickbait.
I don't know. I love the idea when we're like, it's just like, look at this human accomplishment. And they're stepping out of the capsule. It's like, wow, this is such an amazing moment. And you know that there's a full load. Yeah.
I'm getting a rash, guys. Let's get this photo op done.
They are 100% uncomfortable. And when they hug their families, there's probably no smell, right? Because it's airtight in the suit. But, yeah. Also, the capsule, the toilet in the capsule broke. Did that break while somebody was using it? And did they have to go back to the station and be like, listen, guys, I'm real sorry about this.
You're about to see some stuff floating around the cabin.
It's embarrassing enough when you have to ask where the plunger is.
Oh, yeah. That's like way worse.
The feeling when you're at somebody else's house and you hit the button and the water starts coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine that on the space station, how much that's, amplified.
I mean, if the toilet fails catastrophically enough, you'll all die.
Just suck you right out. They got to solve that problem. No one can get that right. If you're on the tourist SpaceX flights and the toilet doesn't work, do you get your money back? Because that would ruin your experience.
I think they mentioned that they had problems with that when they had the commercial
building
flight.
a new one, apparently.
The first tourist kid that goes on one of these things, he's going to throw up. And then it's just going to be...
It's just going to be like stuck to your helmet. Yeah. And you're going to try to wipe it away and it's going to smear it. And then you can't see anything for the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
You have like one little packet of wet wipes trying to clean up your...
I can't wait for National Lampoon's Space Vacation.
What if the kid throwing up triggers your...
And then everyone's vomiting in the cabin.
But they're just vomit everywhere. And then there's vomit inside the suits. Going to space is...
And then mission control can hear people gagging and then they start vomiting too.
It's a universal... It's just a sea of vomit all over SpaceX. And then there's a rush on the canteen because everybody's hungry.
They have to start putting that in their job descriptions. Must be okay with the sounds of gagging.
Yeah, after they take you out of the centrifuge, they just jam your head in a bucket of horse manure.
They add that as a new hour of space training. As they have recordings of that. It's like, I'm sorry, you can't be an astronaut.
You gotta do. It's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do underwater suit training into centrifuge into 2 girls 1 cup, and you have to get through the whole thing.
I was thinking relaxing sounds to vomit to 1 hour, and then it's just
lo-fi beats to vomit to.
Yeah.
Ugh. Well, what do we got for tomorrow?
Did we do security yet?
No, it'll be security nonsense, which is kind of a weird breakdown, but it'll be sad, and then you'll feel happy because it's Friday.
That's nice.
Yeah.
The emotional roller coaster. It's what we all want.
In these trying times. All right, bye.